Now, the latest from ITV News Meridian with Sangeeta Barbara and Fred Dinage.
Good evening and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines here in the south. Cancelled trains, rail disruption. How a rise in sickness among train guards is affecting commuters in Hampshire and Sussex.
Sometimes I've not been numb and not quite known how to deal with it.
The husband of a Fleet woman detained in an Iranian jail calls on David Cameron for urgent help.
The Sussex families have been told they'll be evicted if they allow their children to play in their street.
And stargazing on the South Downs, why it's now one of the best places on Earth to catch a glimpse of our universe. Good evening. ITV News Meridian can reveal that thousands of commuters in Sussex, Surrey and parts of Hampshire are suffering disruption because of a massive rise in sickness by train guards.
Yes, figures we've obtained reveal that in the last few days there have been 435 trains cancelled, with up to 164 a day. Sickness rates have more than doubled and many staff are refusing to work overtime.
Well, it comes as Southern Trains is involved in a row with guards over changes to working practices. A one-day strike is planned for next week. With more, here's our transport correspondent, Mike Pearce.
For thousands of rail passengers, cancellations have become a way of life.
Southern service from this station to Brighton has been cancelled.
And today across Sussex, Kent and Surrey, they were again causing severe disruption.
It's very frustrating, especially when you've got to get somewhere on time. It's now cancelled. I've just got to wait until now, 10 o'clock.
Southern say the number of guards going sick has never been so high. While the company and the union RMT don't want to speculate, the obvious theory is the current industrial dispute. Staff who walked out had free travel and parking permits taken away.
It's terrible. It's happening all the time. You're so lucky if you get a train because it's just not happening.
It's just horrific. You know, you're losing out on time that you need to be there for, and yeah, it's just very unnecessary, I think, half the time.
It's terrible. It's terrible, really terrible. And it cost me a lot of money as well.
And that's because you had to get taxis and things?
Yeah.
Well, Southern say they simply don't know why sickness rates have gone up so dramatically. What it does mean is that they can't plan for cancellations, they just have to make them on the day, which is extremely disruptive for passengers. The RMT say Southern don't have enough guards now the holiday season has kicked in, which the company strongly deny. They want drivers to close train doors to free up guards to spend more time with passengers, with a promise of no job losses or pay cuts. But the unions say it's the start of doing away with guards and are striking over the issue.
I don't know why sickness rates have suddenly gone up, but what I do know is that if managers had been planning 3-4 years ago, we would have the staff numbers of drivers and conductors to weather any kind of sickness issues that came up or any storm you have with HR. We know there's a driver shortage, we know there's shortages in other parts on the network, and what we're seeing now is the expression of past failures of management.
Meanwhile, the cancellations and the high sickness levels continue, with the next strike due on Friday week. Mike Pearce, ITV News.
And it's just been confirmed next Friday's strike has been changed to Wednesday, the 18th of May.
And of course, we shall keep you fully updated on that story on our website, itv.com/Meridian. That and more of the day's news from here in the south.
In other news, the father of a teenage girl critically injured in a motorbike crash in Dorset has urged people to pray for his daughter. It's believed Georgina Saville, who's 16, was a passenger on the bike when the crash happened on the A35 Puddletown bypass near Dorchester on Saturday. A number of motorcycles were involved. 3 people were also taken to hospital with injuries not thought to be life-threatening.
A man's been jailed for life for stabbing a pensioner to death at a flat in Brighton. Star Randall Hansen, who's 50, stabbed Derek Marnie in April last year. He continued to live alongside the 70-year-old's body for 10 days before comments he made to a tarot card reader were reported to the police.
A church in Brighton has been cordoned off as police investigate the suspected rape of a 28-year-old woman. Sussex police are investigating claims the woman was attacked in St Nicholas churchyard off Dyke Road. A 30-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of rape and remains in police custody.
Man's been taken to hospital with a life-threatening head injury after being assaulted at a holiday park in Dorset over the weekend. Police were called to Rockley Park in Poole on Sunday afternoon. A 34-year-old man and a woman who's 57 have been arrested on suspicion of GBH with intent. Police say they were known to the 64-year-old victim.
Thousands of people have signed a petition calling for the government to step in and help free a woman from Fleet who is being held in an Iranian jail.
Nazneen Zaghari Radcliffe was detained 36 days ago at the main airport in Tehran as she tried to fly home with her one-year-old daughter. Well, Mary Stanley's in our newsroom for us now. Mary, what do we know about this at the moment?
Well, Nazneen is a charity worker who has dual British-Iranian nationality. She and her 22-month-old daughter Gabriella went on holiday to Iran to see family on the 17th of March. Well, when they were trying to return home, Nazneen was stopped. Her daughter was taken to stay with her parents and both had their British passports confiscated. Her family has been told the investigation relates to issues of national security, though there have been no charges. Her husband believes she hasn't done anything wrong and is calling on the government to step in.
Well, obviously in the end I want to get them both back home. In the first instance I want to get Nazneen out of solitary confinement. So what I'm calling for is for David Cameron and for everyone in government and the FCO to do whatever they can just to try and push various buttons and speak to various people. And all those other people that have signed, part of the aspiration is just it's a big world out there. We're more connected now and someone somewhere will know who to influence.
In a statement, a spokeswoman for the Foreign Office said they've been providing support for the family since the arrest and will continue to do so. The Iranian embassy in London was unavailable for comment.
Story we shall continue to follow. Mary, for now, thank you very much.
Well, news now, and a doctor who works at Frimley Park Hospital has appeared before magistrates charged with sexually assaulting patients. Neil Innocent, who's 60 and from Sandhurst in Berkshire, has been charged with 10 counts of sexual assault from 2008 to 2014. He's been remanded on bail with conditions not to contact alleged victims or work in any medical capacity.
A 10th person has been arrested in connection with the death of a man found stabbed in Southampton. 49-year-old Michael Freshwater's body was found at a flat in Westridge Road on the 29th of April. A 34-year-old man's been arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender. A 16-year-old boy arrested on suspicion of murder has been bailed until the 21st of June.
Now, at what point does a council have the right to tell you where your children can play? Many of us have, of course, grown up playing on the street right outside our homes.
But now people living in Evelyn Clark Square in Forest Row near Crawley have been told they could face eviction if they continue to let their children play in the road. Andy Dickinson has the story.
Welcome to the street in which children aren't allowed to play. Not because their parents told them not to, but the state, in this case Wealdon District Council, sending residents a letter warning them they face eviction if they disobey.
A threat of eviction notice because our children come out and play is just, it's bizarre. I don't want to be told I'm an antisocial person for letting my child come out and play, and I certainly don't believe that my 8-year-old is antisocial because he wants to come out and play.
Council tenants only moved on to this newly completed cul-de-sac 2 years ago and believe they are building a community. They've also been banned from having barbecues in the square, the council pointing them to this small communal garden instead.
It's all right if there's like 2 or 3 children, but over 29 houses, it's too small. If it was bigger, yeah, it'd be all right.
Kids should be able to play. They should be able to go around together and enjoy their childhood. You know, we all did it.
The council told us, we have received a number of complaints from residents about this issue. We must point out that the cul-de-sac is not a safe place to play, with owners and visitors' cars coming in directly from the main road. Respect and tolerance are important when living in a square like Evelyn Clark.
When I was growing up as a youngster, with my sister who's over there, we played out in the streets, riding our bikes, playing on our roller skates, doing what kids normally do as kids. Why should they tell us how to bring our children up when they're ours?
Residents say they themselves are being treated like children, while the kids just want to have fun. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Forest Row.
Well, many of you have been reacting to this story on our Facebook page. Missy Mariessa from Southampton says they shouldn't be playing in the road. Think how dangerous it is with neighbours driving in and out.
But James Harrison from Bournemouth thinks the complaint should be thrown out. He says the sound of happy children is a pleasure that is gone all too soon. Let the children play.
Sarah Wayman from Sussex agrees with that. You can't win these days, she says. Moan if your kids are stuck indoors on games consoles, not exercising, and moan if they're out on bikes exercising.
But Alison Irwin from Fareham thinks roads are for cars and not for children. She says no one wants to stop children playing outside, but not in the road. I just pray no child is hurt, as the car driver will get the blame. Thank you everyone for getting in touch. Well, you are watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Still to come.
From Wiltshire to Florida, we catch up with the injured Army veteran competing in the second Invictus Games.
And for more on all of our stories, you know what to do. Head to our website, itv.com/Meridian. You can call us on 0808 1010 095 or get in touch via Facebook or send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
Now, do you know how to help someone who's having a stroke? Doctors say it's vital the patient gets treatment immediately.
Yes, by the age of 75, 1 in 6 men and 1 in 5 women will have a stroke. Smoking, high blood pressure and being overweight increases your risk.
But young people can have strokes too. Kerry Swain's been speaking to survivors in their teens and 20s.
I was just drawing in my bedroom. I like designing, and my hand just went. I couldn't pick up the pen with it, and I was so confused. So using my other hand, I started Googling symptoms, and it just kept saying stroke, stroke.
And he got up and stood still, very still. And I said, "Benjamin, you all right?" And he didn't answer me. And his arm dropped down. And I just screamed and said, "Can somebody get in here, because he's having a stroke?" And then his mouth dropped.
To spot the signs of a stroke, you have to think and act fast. Someone has a stroke every 3.5 minutes in the UK. Black people are twice as likely to suffer a stroke as white people. And you don't have to be old. Children, even babies, can have a stroke. University student Catherine was only 22. Ben had just celebrated his 18th birthday. His was a severe stroke. This scan shows the blood supply to the left side of his brain blocked by a clot.
When I was a junior doctor, this was essentially an untreatable condition, and the patient would come in with stroke and you would tuck them up in bed and just wait and see what happened.
Now doctors at Southampton General Hospital are able to remove some clots. This tiny brush within a fine wire was threaded through blood vessels from Ben's groin to his brain. The clot captured, blood supply restored.
My fear was that Ben was going to go on and have a huge stroke that could have been either a life-threatening or a life-changing stroke that would have left him profoundly disabled, potentially paralysed down the right side of his body and being unable to speak or with great difficulty with speaking.
Ben has limited movement in his hand. Half of all stroke survivors have a disability.
Simple things I can't do, shoelaces up, I struggle to do ties on my trackies, I struggle to open cans.
Put your arms to your side. Now don't let me push you down. Don't let me do that.
Catherine initially lost the use of one arm. She made this sketch soon after her stroke. This later drawing illustrates how well she's recovered. Within months, Catherine won a competition for this costume she designed and made herself.
I'm good. I'm so good. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better recovery. And my hand obviously it's not 100%, and I don't know if it ever will be. But it's usable and I can do everything I used to do. I'm just a bit more clumsy.
Tea time. Just like a fire, it's time to call 999 if you see any single one of these signs. Prompt treatment at the Queen Alexandra Hospital in Portsmouth saved both young people. Ben was already there being treated for a clot on the heart.
On an average, it is said that if one has had a large artery stroke and they don't get any treatment, over the next 10 hours, they are likely to age by about 36 years.
Ben is completing his car mechanics college course in Fareham. Although his hand is now too weak for work in a garage, his mother just thankful he survived. He and Catherine hope to save lives by telling their stories. Stroke awareness, they say, is vital. Kerry Swain, ITV News.
And you can find out more about the warning signs of a stroke by going to our website. Well, the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. With more, here's Mark Austin.
Caught on camera, David Cameron tells the Queen Nigeria and Afghanistan are fantastically corrupt.
A very successful cabinet meeting this morning. We talk about our anti-corruption summit. We've got the Nigerians. We've got some leaders of some fantastically corrupt countries coming to Britain.
The Prime Minister was speaking about a major anti-corruption summit being held in London on Thursday. The row over leaked SAT tests on the day children were due to sit them, and why the Flying Scotsman is proving so popular, rail bosses want to keep it a secret. Join Mary Nightingale and me at 6:30.
We will, thank you. Now, this weekend saw the EU referendum in and out campaigns officially get underway. We have 44 days to make up our minds.
Well, the arguments have varied, with claims and counterclaims about the pros and cons of leaving the European Union. Norway is one of the few countries in Europe, but not in the Union, that is allowed into the single market. Yesterday we heard from its people.
Well, today, in the second of his reports from the country, David Wood looks into the arguments for and against change there.
The Akershus fortress has stood tall over Oslo for centuries, protecting this city from her enemies. But while the threats aren't here anymore, Norway is still looking after herself, politically at least, choosing to stay outside of the EU. And the country's Labour Party is the one most keen to change that. Right now, Norway has to pay to be part of the European market and has signed up to the Open Borders Schengen Agreement.
We don't have that much power. We pay a lot, we get access to the market, but we don't have that much influence. That's a disadvantage for Norway. A new application, then we must have more support for an application in Norway. And we do have a pretty good deal.
And while there isn't overwhelming support across the country, there is in Norway's parliament.
And just like back at home, the country's Conservative Prime Minister wants to be part of the European Union. But twice now the Norwegian population has been asked whether it does too, back in the 70s and in the 90s. And twice it said no. But it's not a case of politicians versus the people. There isn't unanimous support here at Parliament for joining the European Union. Some politicians argue that actually Norway may be a small country, but it punches well above its weight and doesn't need to join the rest of Europe in a political union.
And that is what the Centre Party passionately believes. At a summit of the party's leaders, they are meeting to reaffirm their Euroscepticism.
We have the opportunity to form our own policy on very important matters. I could mention the fisheries, the agriculture sector, but also the financial sector and the monetary policies, which has been very important during the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, and also in these days when the economy is rather stressed.
And while the Centre Party adds that Norway can veto EU laws that go against its interests, their opponents complain of a lack of influence on the European stage. But one thing the politicians do agree on is that until there is appetite to reignite this debate outside of Parliament, nothing will change. David Wood, ITV News, in Oslo.
And of course, over the coming weeks, we'll be hearing from both sides of the EU referendum debate.
The second Invictus Games are underway in Orlando in Florida, with wounded and injured armed service personnel taking part in sporting events.
Veterans from right across the south are competing for the United Kingdom, including a man from Wiltshire who lost both of his legs in Afghanistan. With the story, Robert Moore.
At the Invictus Games, there are many stories of resilience and of inner strength. But perhaps none more so than Swindon's Corrie Mapp, representing his nation, but proud of his town and his county. He lost both legs in 2010 in an ambush in Afghanistan while serving in the Household Cavalry. Today, Corrie's only concern is to give something back, to inspire others.
I hope, all in all, that people could just look at me and say, well, yeah, there's someone who has definitely had a setback in life and they didn't let it get them down, and you know, that type of thing. If I can inspire one person in that way, then I feel pretty awesome about that.
With roots in Barbados, Corrie excels at sport. He has played disabled cricket for Hampshire, was part of the Paralympic bobsleigh team, and it's been a key part of his recovery.
In the past 6 years, I would say I've come a long way. That's the long and short of it. I've come a long way. Mentally, physically, I'm a lot stronger. Mentally a lot stronger. Things that used to bother me, even before I was injured, they don't bother me anymore. I just crack on with life.
When he's back home in Swindon, he helps at the Royal Legion Centre, assisting other veterans.
Look at it as, you know, this is your new normal. This is who you are now. Embrace it and be the best possible person you can be. Be the best version of you that you can possibly be.
A hero who is fiercely competitive, but a man who judges success not in medals, but rather in being an example to others. Robert Moore, ITV News, in Orlando, Florida.
And good luck to him. It's been announced today that the South Downs National Park, stretching across Hampshire and Sussex, has been named as the world's newest international dark sky reserve.
It's only the 11th place in the world to be awarded the title and has taken a long time and a lot of hard work to earn it, as our Simon has been finding out.
Now, there is something nice and relaxing about looking up at the dark sky and seeing the stars whiz by. Of course, we've had to cheat today, firstly because, well, it's far too cloudy, and secondly because it's not dark yet. But we are, Dan, at the South Downs Planetarium, and I'll be honest, I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great place to come and learn about the stars, but if you really want the real thing, you've got to go to the National Park and get out in those dark night skies.
And of course, now you've got this new status, it's going to make all the difference, presumably.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we spent a lot of time mapping the entire region to find out where those dark skies are, and now we know where they are, we can do something about protecting them.
And presumably, because the South Downs cover such a great expanse, not all bits are as good as each other.
Yeah, there are darker bits and there are lighter bits. The lighter bits are going to be around the towns and the cities, but once you get away from those lights and get into the deep dark downs, the view's amazing.
And as far as how it's going to help the South Downs, what benefit does it bring?
Well, there's the astrotourism, that's becoming more popular at the moment, but really it's getting the next generation of kids who don't know there's a Milky Way out there to come out and engage on a galactic scale and just go use their dark skies. They're just 10 minutes up the road.
And of course this planetarium is spitting distance of Tim Peake's school. Presumably that all helps too, doesn't it?
It does. Any kind of publicity about space is fantastic, and if you're out there and you know he's passing, just give him a wave and he might wave back.
Yeah, might not though, so
might not, no.
Maybe tweet him, that's probably a safer bet. Well, Dan, thank you very much for letting us look at the night sky, albeit in a cheating way. Can we see it for real? Here's the forecast.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, now, sadly, you won't be as lucky as Chad Powell was the other night on the Isle of Wight when he got this gorgeous image of the Milky Way. Problem today and tonight is that there's too much cloud and some bits and pieces of rain too. The showery outbreaks continuing through the night, first thing tomorrow morning as well, but then they start to clear away and you can see the cloud will break up, and come the afternoon there'll be some bright spells, but the blue means that there'll also be a scattering of showers too. So back to tonight, and we have that Met Office weather warning in place because by the time tomorrow morning comes along we could have seen around an inch of rain, and that's enough to cause some localised flooding issues, lots of surface spray. There'll be dry spells through the night, and it'll be mild and muggy as well, with temperatures no lower than around 13 or 14 degrees. And there might be a bit of murk towards the south coast first thing tomorrow morning. That rain soon clearing, the clouds starting to break up, and by the afternoon you will see some sunshine, but watch out for the showers. Again, they could be heavy, perhaps with some thunder thrown in as well. Temperatures tomorrow, though, going in the right direction, back up into the high teens, peaking at around 18, maybe 19 degrees. As for your high tide times, you can see in Brighton, 5 to 3 in the morning, 25 past 3 in the afternoon, and then guess what? Another day of sunshine and showers on Thursday.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather. Keeping a close eye on summer. The Pollen Count, sponsored by Ilogy Eye Drops.
Well, as things brighten up quite nicely tomorrow, it will mean that the tree pollen levels will leap up to high again. And for the rest of the week, expect them to be high in the best of any bright and sunny spells, but lower during any showers.
And in just a moment, we've got the ITV Evening News with Mark Austin and Mary Nightingale.
Now, though, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much indeed for watching. Take care. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.